In this video, I'm going to show you how to create half hexagons from charts that are a part of the Ipsa blanket. Those are charts for creating full hexagons, and the instructions are for working in a round to make those hexagons. But to create half hexagons, you can use the same charts, but you'd have to work flat. And in this tutorial, I'm going to go over how you can do that. So when I was designing my blanket, this was not a part of my original plan. I had tried to make these half hexagons, but I had not succeeded. There are some participants in my Facebook group who ended up not only creating the half hexagons from the hexagon charts, but they also created tutorials and taught me how to make them. So I am creating this tutorial with whatever I have learned so far about making these half hexagons, and I hope that this will be helpful for you too. So jumping right in, I'm going to start with the stitches that you need to know to make these half hexagons. I'm going to go over how you can make these stitches while you're working flat hexagons. This is going to be slightly different than how we work in a round, because the project is always the front is always facing you when you're making the forward pass. But in this case, when you're making the forward pass, the project is turned the other way, so the wrong side is facing you. So just to practice that, I always recommend practicing the stitches in isolation. So this is how I do it, and this is how I'd recommend you do it if you wanted to make the hexagons, the half hexagons. So here is a simple stitch swatch. I made simple stitches and I've completed the forward pass. So this is, if you can make a swatch like this and stop here, I'm going to show you how to work a project flat with a double-ended hook. I'm going to begin with moving all of these loops to the return pass hook. And I'm using a long cord just for the purpose of this video, but you can do with a shorter cord or a double-ended hook. So here I have now turned the project around, and I'm going to take my return pass yarn, which is this one, and I've started with a slip knot. I make the return pass like I normally would. I start with pulling through one loop, and then yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, until I have one loop on the hook. So here I've got one loop on the hook, and this is where I'm going to stop. I'm going to now go, I'm not going to turn the project around. I'm going to go to my forward pass hook, and I'm going to work with the forward pass yarn. So I'm going to move this side. So I'm going to move it towards the front right now. So it's actually the back of the project, but front for me. And I'm going to pick up this yarn, which is my forward pass yarn. This can get a little complicated, and it took me a while to understand how this works, but I still don't have tension even at the edges. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I decided to make the tutorial before I practiced a lot more. It's going to take me some time to perfect that, but here is how it's done. So this is out of the way, and we have the forward pass yarn here. This is intended to give you some practice for working the half hexagons. So I'm going to show you how a knit stitch is made. So I'm going to hold this yarn in the back just to get it out of the way. And this is the first stitch after the edge stitch from the edge. So this is the first stitch here. I'm going to make a knit stitch, but one thing that I have to be very careful about is that the yarn will not be there. It will be in front of the hook. Now you have to always remember that you're working in the front, which is at the back side. So this is the back of the project right now. And it can get a little confusing, but if you were working on the front here, the yarn would be at the back, and that's what we need. So we're actually simulating making stitches from the front side, but we're just, because our yarn is on this end, we have to do it from the back. So front and back. So I hope this is not confusing. This is the wrong side of the project. That's the right side of the project. We're going to make stitches from the right side, but we're going to hold our project like this. Okay, so getting this yarn out of the way, I'm going to make a Tunisian knit stitch. So I need to make sure that this yarn is here in front of my hook. And then I insert the hook in between the two vertical bars. That's the front vertical bar right here. That's the front from the right side. So front vertical bar, back vertical bar, and you have to insert your hook like this. And then yarn over and pull through. So that's a knit stitch. I'm going to do it again. So insert hook from back to front between the two vertical bars, yarn over and pull through. So that's a knit stitch. The next stitch you need to know is a Tunisian full stitch. So you insert your hook in between two stitches. So this is one stitch, this is another. In between two stitches, back to front, yarn over, pull through. I'm going to make it again. So insert hook back to front, yarn over, pull through. So that's two knit stitches, two full stitches. I'm going to show you how to make a Tunisian reverse stitch. A Tunisian reverse stitch is made in the back vertical bar, which is this one, because this is the wrong side. So insert your hook in the back vertical bar, yarn over and pull through and bring it out like this. So this is the part that was a little hard for me. It took some time to get used to this. So if you want to practice this, that would probably be a good idea. So insert your hook in the back vertical bar, yarn over and pull through. So that's how it is. The next one you need to know is a twisted Tunisian simple stitch. So a twisted Tunisian simple stitch would be, you'd insert your hook from this direction like this, yarn over and pull through. So again, you insert your hook from here. So this is the front vertical bar, and then yarn over and pull through. Those are twisted simple stitches. And the last one that you need to know is a simple stitch. So that I think is the hardest to do in this. But what you do is you pick up the front vertical bar in the opposite direction. So you pick it up like this and you twist up and then yarn over and pull through. So I'm going to do it again here. So this is the front vertical bar. Pick it up, twist upwards, yarn over and pull through. So those are knit, two full, two reverse, two twisted Tunisian simple stitches, two Tunisian simple stitches. And if you look here, this is how they look. So if you were working with the front side forward, this is exactly how you'd want them to look. Here's two knit stitches, there's two full stitches, and the reverse stitches where the return pass yarn shows up in front. And then these are two twisted simple stitches and two simple stitches. So these are all the stitches you'll need to know if you follow this tutorial. I'm going to show you how to make a half hexagon. I'm going to do a practice half hexagon, and these are the stitches you'd need to know. I'm now going to show you how to read a hexagon chart to make a half hexagon. So here you'll see on the left there is a chart which was used for the practice hexagon. That's in my practice hexagon tutorial, and I'm going to convert it into something that can be used to make a half hexagon. And for that, you can look at the one on the right. So we are going to eliminate round one, and we're going to start with round two and make a magic ring and begin with 8 stitches there. And I'm going to explain a little bit later why. We're going to start with round two, and then we're going to make rounds 3 to 13, and then we're going to make the bind off round. So in this case, it's going to be bind off row, and these individually, these are rows and not rounds. So the chart on the right side is what we're going to use. The biggest modification is that you're eliminating one round. You're starting from round 2. Now, when we start reading this chart, round 1 is eliminated, as I mentioned earlier. I'm going to start with with row 2. I'm going to start calling them rows now. So row 2 is where we start, and you can see the different arrows. They just indicate that these rows will be made in opposite directions. So all even rows are made in one direction and all odd rows are made in the other direction. The reason for eliminating row 1 was because the increased stitches were ending up on the other side, which was getting really, really hard to make. So starting from row 2 made that a lot easier. So just making sure that the right side of the project is facing you when you're making your increases, because making those increases on the other side was really hard. So it is doable. It is definitely doable. It's just that I was having a very, very hard time with it. So it seemed unnecessary, especially for hexagons, because we have alternate rows where we do not have any increases. So having those rows, working those rows at the back when the project is facing the other side was a lot easier than having these even rows facing the other side. So that was the reason why I eliminated row 1. And I'm just going to follow this chart. And I think I've covered everything I wanted to share right now. So we'll just jump right into it and start making this half hexagon. So to begin with this half hexagon, we will start with a magic ring. So here, that's the first stitch. So I'm going to start with 8 loops in the magic ring. The reason for that is a half hexagon has 3 edges, and if you look at row 2, it has 2 stitches in the magic ring per edge. So if we are doing 3 edges, then it's a total of 3 times 2, which is 6 stitches. And I'm also going to add 2 stitches for the edges of each row. So that is the first stitch and the last stitch, and you'll see how it works up, and it'll make a lot more sense when you see each row working up. So here it is. It started with 1, 7, and 8. So that's 8 stitches in the magic ring. And then I'm going to move these over to my return pass hook. And here's my return pass yarn. Starts with a slip knot, and then I'm going to pull through 1 and then yarn over, pull through 2 until I have 1 loop on the hook. So in this half hexagon, we are going to cast off all these stitches because the next round is built in the opposite direction. So here I've cast off all stitches. I have 1 loop on the hook, and at this point I also like to close the magic loop. So here, magic ring, I use them interchangeably here. So this is row 2 and 1 combined, so calling it row 2. Now on to row 3. So for row 3, you're making 3 stitches per edge. And so this stitch here, this is going to be this one here, this one from the previous row, and this one here is going to count as the first stitch of this row, and this right here is going to be the last stitch of this row. So there's a total of 6 stitches in between. So that's 2, 4, 6. So that's 3 times 2, 6 stitches, and this one edge stitch here and the other edge stitch on that side. So that's why 8 stitches. Now for row 3, I am going to go back to my forward pass hook because I have to make sure that I'm always making the forward pass with the forward pass hook, whatever your forward pass hook is. I know everybody has a different hook that they're using, so it could be the same size as the other one. If that's the case, then you don't have to worry about switching. But if you have different forward and reverse pass hooks, then you need to go back to your forward pass hook. So to make row 3, you are going to start with a full stitch, and I'm going to now leave this yarn. I'm going to move it towards the side, get it out of the way, and then pick up my forward pass yarn, and I'm going to make a Tunisian full stitch. So I'm going to find the space between the two stitches. I'm going to bring this yarn to the front, insert hook from back to front in that space, yarn over, pull through. That's a full stitch. Now 2 knit stitches. So here, finding the space between the 2 vertical bars, yarn over, pull through, knit, and then another knit. So insert hook here, yarn over, pull through. So that's a full knit. So I'm going to do this 2 more times. It's a full and then a knit and a knit. And then another full, a knit, and a knit. And I'm going to end this with an edge stitch. Now we don't have the 3 vertical bars the way we normally make an edge stitch, so I'm going to make like a knit stitch here, and here. That's how it is. Now I'm going to go to the return pass hook, turn this around, and I'm going to make the return pass like I normally would. So that's a chain 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and I'm going to do this until I have 1 loop on the hook. Here, this is how it's looking, and we will have alternating, every alternate row will have the other color as the edge stitch. That's just the nature of how this is working up. So that's the end of row 3. Row 4 is going to be worked like you normally would. So you're going to go back to your forward pass hook, going to move this yarn out of the way, pick up the forward pass yarn, and then make a C2 combination, which is a twisted Tunisian simple stitch, twisted Tunisian knit stitch, a knit stitch, and then a knit and simple stitch in the same stitch. That's the C1 combination. So that completes one edge, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches, and this one is the edge of the row. So I'm talking about 2 edge stitches. One is the edge of a hexagon and one is the edge stitch for a row. So I'll try to differentiate between the two every time I say edge, but I hope it's not very confusing. So that's one repeat. The second repeat is a C2 combination. That's a twisted Tunisian simple stitch, a twisted knit stitch, a knit stitch, and then a knit and simple in the same stitch. And the last repeat is again here. At this point, you're welcome to make the return pass if you want. I am comfortable with completing the entire row without having to start the return pass, but if you are having tension issues or if this is too tight, you're welcome to make the return pass until here where you have like 2 or 3 loops on the hook and then complete the row. But for this tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and complete this row. So here, twisted Tunisian simple stitch, twisted knit stitch, and then a knit stitch, and then a knit and simple in the same stitch. So knit stitch and simple stitch. And for this edge stitch, I'm going to find that V here. There's this yarn changed color right here, so it's hard to see, but there are 2 vertical bars here. So I'm going to pick those and make the edge of the row. So that's the edge stitch of the row. So that's a total of, so there's 5 stitches in every hexagon edge. So that's 5 into 3, 15 plus 2, 17. So 17 is the number of loops I should have on the hook at this point. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. So I have 17 loops on the hook, and that's what I'd expect. Now I'm going to go to the return pass hook, turn this project around, and I'm going to pick up my return pass yarn, and I'm going to chain 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 until I have 1 loop on the hook. And that's how it's looking at the back right now, and this is the front. Now I'm going to now move back to the forward pass hook, and now we're going to start row 5, which is an odd row, so it will be worked with the project facing the back of the project facing you. So now on to row 5. So for row 5, you move this yarn, get it out of the way, and then pick up this forward pass yarn, and you're starting with a Tunisian simple stitch. So this is where the hard work begins. I think this one is the hardest for me to do. So the tension in this doesn't matter too much. Because you can always tighten this later, so don't worry about this too much. You're going to turn your project, find that front vertical bar. Here's the front vertical bar. Now you have to make a Tunisian simple stitch. So you insert your hook in the opposite direction, pick it up from the other side, and then twist up. And then yarn over. Well, it's not actually yarning over like this because that would create an extra loop. You're just yarning over here just means you're pulling this loop through. That's a simple stitch. And then 3 knit stitches. So here's the next stitch. I'm going to find the front and back vertical bars and insert my hook, and then yarn over, pull through. 2 more, insert hook, yarn over, pull through. Insert hook, yarn over, pull through. And then it's a twisted Tunisian simple stitch. So for that, I'm going to insert my hook like this, and then yarn over and pull through. So that's one edge. Next edge is a simple stitch. So I'm going to find this front vertical bar. It helps just pull it up a little bit so then I can insert my hook from the other side, twist up, and then yarn over and pull through. So you can see here that V that's formed, that's what we're looking for with this combination of stitches. And then 3 knit stitches. So that's 1, 2, and 3. And then a simple stitch. So here sorry, a twisted simple stitch. So here I look for this front vertical bar here, insert hook, yarn over and pull through. Then the next is a simple stitch again, so that's the last repeat. So here I find this front vertical bar, pull it up a bit so it makes it loose, and now I can pick it up in the opposite direction, twist up, yarn over and pull through. So that's how it's looking at the back. You can see this V here, that's what we want. And then 3 knit stitches, so that's 1, 2, and 3. So you can see this one's slightly hard, but if you pull it a little, you can find the 2 vertical bars and then insert your hook, yarn over, pull through. And then the last one is a twisted Tunisian simple stitch. Insert hook in this direction, yarn over, and pull through. So that's how it is. That's how it looks at the back. And I really hope I got this right, because I've tried this multiple times, and about every single row I make, I end up making a mistake, but I think it looks okay. So I definitely recommend looking at the front of the project to see if everything looks fine, if the stitches look okay, because the part that I made kept making mistakes was I would twist in the wrong direction, and or I'd pull the do the yarn over and pull the loop through in the wrong direction. So that is the part that took the longest to figure out. And now to make that last stitch, so here I'm going to do this from the back. I'm going to pick up these 2 vertical bars at the corner and yarn over and pull through, and that completes row 5, the forward pass. I'm going to go ahead and make the return pass, moved my loops to the return pass hook, pick up my return pass yarn and then chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 until I have 1 loop on the hook. So here it is at the end of row 5. Now you can see that I'm not using stitch markers here, and the reason for that is that I tried with stitch markers. They were getting in the way and it was really hard for me to deal with them. If you want, at this point, it would be a good idea to put a marker here, which is this one corner, and here, which is this other corner. They will mark the beginnings of each edge of the hexagon. You could even use a strand of yarn if that's better, because the weight of the stitch markers was making it difficult to work on this. I am going to continue without stitch markers, but you can definitely use stitch markers if this is getting hard to keep track of. So now on to row 6. I'm going to go back to my forward pass hook, and I love these even rows because I can see what I'm doing. And here it is. I'm going to pick up the forward pass yarn and start with a twisted Tunisian simple stitch, a twisted knit stitch, and a knit, a reverse, and a knit, and then a knit and simple in the same stitch. And that's one edge of the hexagon. I'm going to do 2 more. Then I'm going to make this edge stitch by picking up the 2 vertical bars here. So that's how it's looking, and I'm going to move these to the return pass hook. Pick up the return pass yarn and yarn over, chain 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2 until there's 1 loop on the hook. That's the end of row 6, and this is how it's looking at the front, and that's the back. Now we're going to make row 7. To begin row 7, I'm going to move this yarn out of the way here, and then pick up my forward pass yarn, which is here, and then I'm going to start with a simple stitch. So here, picking up this, finding the front vertical bar here, so here, pull it a little bit, then make sure this yarn is in front of your hook. Yeah, pick that up, yarn over, pull through. That's a twisted, that's a simple stitch, and then a knit, a reverse, knit, a reverse, a knit, and then a twisted Tunisian simple stitch. So here, find that front vertical bar, yarn over, pull through, and then a simple stitch. So find that front vertical bar off. So this is the beginning of the second edge, so second repeat. So find that vertical bar, pick it up in the opposite direction, yarn over, pull through. It's a simple stitch, and then I'm going to make knit, reverse, knit, reverse, knit. So that's a knit, reverse, knit, reverse, and knit, and then a twisted Tunisian simple stitch. So here, and the third edge is a twist, it is a simple stitch. So find this front vertical bar, yarn over, pull through. So here, that's how it's looking, and then knit, reverse, knit, reverse, and knit, and then a simple stitch, and then a twisted simple stitch. So here, and then find that corner stitch here, which is, sorry, the edge stitch here, which is like the 2 vertical bars here, front to back, and then yarn over, pull through. So that's how it's looking, and I think I got it right. So here, that one corner and the other corner. So okay, I'm going to go to my return pass hook, turn the project, and then chain 1 and yarn over, pull through 2 until I have 1 loop on the hook. So that's the end of row 7, and this is how it's looking. Now on to row 8. All right, row 8 is made like you normally would. So I'm just going to make one edge and show you how it's looking, and then I'm going to complete the row and then show you the rest. So moving the return pass yarn out of the way, getting my forward pass yarn, and at this point my yarn is completely tangled, so it would be a good idea to stop and untangle if you want. So here, row 8 starts with a C2 combination, so that's a twisted Tunisian simple stitch, a twisted knit stitch, and then a reverse stitch, 3 knit stitches, 1, 2, 3, a reverse stitch, and then a C1 combination, which is a knit and simple in the same stitch. So that's one edge. I'm going to make 2 more, make the last stitch here in this, and then complete the return pass and show you how it looks. Here I am at the end of row 8. So I completed the 3 repeats and I made the return pass. So I'm going to now turn my project, and I'm here with my forward pass hook. I moved over this loop to the forward pass hook, and then I'm going to start making row 9. Beginning row 9, I got this yarn out of the way, and then my forward pass yarn is here. I'm going to start with a simple stitch. So here, pick up this front vertical bar in the opposite direction, yarn over, pull through, and then 2 knit stitches, knit, knit, and then a reverse, a knit, a reverse, and then 2 knit stitches, and then a simple stitch, a twisted simple stitch. So here, insert hook like this, yarn over, pull through. Now the next repeat is a simple stitch. So here, find that front vertical bar, pull it up a bit, and then that makes it easy to pick it up in the opposite direction. This yarn is in the way, so just show you here. Pick this up, pull it a bit, and then insert from the opposite direction, twist up, and then yarn over, pull through. That's a simple stitch, and then 2 knit stitches, knit, knit, reverse, knit, reverse, knit, and knit. And that's the end of edge 2, and then to make a twisted simple stitch. So here, and then a simple stitch, and then knit, knit, reverse, knit, reverse, knit, knit, and end it with a twisted simple stitch. And then make that edge stitch for the row. So find the 2 vertical bars here. You can see the 2 vertical bars right here, and that's how it's looking. And then I'm going to make the return pass and show you how it looks at the end of row 9. Okay, that's the end of row 9. I have completed the return pass, and I'm going to move to my forward pass hook. I'll make one hexagon edge and I'll show you, so one repeat so that you can see how it's done. So a twisted simple stitch, a twisted knit stitch in the same stitch, and then 3 knit stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then a reverse stitch and 3 knit stitches, 1, 2, 3, and then a knit and simple in the same stitch. So that's one edge of the hexagon. I'm going to repeat it twice. So this is, you can see that this diamond shape here is almost complete after this. And I'm going to now complete the rest of it, and then I'm going to show you how to make row 11. Here I am, I've completed row 10, and this is how it's looking. You can see that the diamonds are now complete. Now I've got to make a row of knit stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 knit stitches. So I'm going to move this out of the way, pick up my forward pass yarn and go to my forward pass hook. That would help. Okay. So now begin with a simple stitch. So here, bring this yarn forward. Just not forget to do that. And then make a simple stitch. So find this front vertical bar right here. Pull it a little bit. Move this yarn to the front of the hook. And then pick this up, twist upwards, and then yarn over, pull through. So that's a simple stitch. And then 9 knit stitches. I like this row. I really like this row. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then a twisted Tunisian simple stitch. So that's this one right here. Yarn over, pull through, and then so that completes one edge of the hexagon. I think you all understand how to do this now. So this is one edge. I'm going to complete the other 2 edges and then show you how it looks at the end of row 11. Here I am at the end of row 11. I'm going to make row 12, which is like I normally would. So I'm going to make that off camera and show you how it looks at the end of row 12. So row 12 is a row of knit stitches. It's an even row, so it's going to be made normally with the right side facing you. So I'm going to do that and then I'll show you how it looks. This is how it's looking at the end of row 12. So that was a row of knit stitches. And now I'm going to make row 13. I know that in the practice hexagon, the bind off row is the 14th row, and that's an odd row, and I think that's pretty straightforward to do because it's worked with your right side facing you, so it's just like a normal bind off row. But I'm going to go ahead and make row 13 the bind off row and show you how to do it when your work is when the wrong side is facing you. Because if you're working on the hexagons, I checked, and the bind off row in the full hexagons is an odd row. So just if you're making one of the hexagons, I just show you how how that would work out. So row 13, I'm converting that into a bind off row for the purpose of this tutorial. So here I'm going to move this yarn to this side, and I picked up my forward pass yarn, and I should actually move to the forward pass hook. So at this time, because I'm making the bind off row, I can actually disconnect the cord. I don't need it anymore. So here for the bind off row, I'm going to make the bind off with the forward pass yarn. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a simple stitch. So moving this yarn out of the way, bringing this yarn forward, making sure it's in front of the hook, and then finding this front vertical bar, and then picking it up from the other direction, twisting upwards, and then yarn over and pull through. So that's a simple stitch. And then because it's a bind off row, I'm going to slip stitch. So that makes sure that I only have one loop on the hook. So now the next stitch is a reverse stitch. So I'm going to make a reverse stitch. And then I'm going to slip. So just make sure that these slip stitches are not too tight, because that's something that can happen fairly easily. So another one, here's a reverse stitch, and then slip and reverse. So it's the exact same thing as you do in odd rows, except that you'd also slip stitch, reverse, and then here is this corner. So I'm going to make a twisted Tunisian simple stitch. So if you look on the other side, it's reverse stitches. This is the bind off row. So when you're doing it for an odd row, that's how you do it. If you do it for an even row, then you can look at the video for making hexagons. It'll be the same as how it's done in those. I'm going to complete this and show you how it looks. So this is how it's looking. After I converted row 13 to the bind off row, and you can see that this looks like the perfect half hexagon for the hexagon, that the practice hexagon that we had made. I'm making this tutorial a lot after I made the hexagon, so the practice hexagon, so I don't have it right now with me, but this is how it is. You can see the design, you can see that the return pass yarn always stays at the back, and that's what we want with this. Now you can see that these edges here, I'm still struggling with keeping them even. I think they're pretty even, but it's still messy, but I think it's okay in this because I would have a border at this place and would be crocheting over them, but you could create a single crochet border at this edge to sort of bring this all together. But if you see the edges here, I'm not super happy with them. I can see the darker yarn and then a tiny bit of that light yarn. So that's a tension thing, I think, a tension problem where this has become too tight. Maybe with practice this will even out for me, but that's how the edges are looking. It was quite a bit of extra effort, but I think it was worth doing this. It was very, very it required a lot of focus, a lot more than I had to actually focus on my actual hexagons. But that might be because this is new to me and I've just made a couple of practice swatches. I think if I do more of this, this will become easier. It already became easy after like row 4 or 5. This was easier than when I tried it for the first time. So it does get easier, and that's pretty much it for making these half hexagons. And I want to say a special thank you to Amanda Gottlieb and Michelle Blanco. they were the first ones to try this, and I am so grateful that they tried this and also taught me how to do this. Michelle also created a video where she explained the stitches, and she showed how to make a half hexagon from scratch. So thank you for that, and thank you for giving me permission to create this video and share it with my audience. So that's all there is. I'm going to do a quick recap of everything you need to remember to make your while making your half hexagons, and that's right after this. While making a half hexagon from a hexagon chart, here is a recap of everything that you need to do and remember. The first thing that you need to do is that the first 2 rounds are replaced with 1 round of 8 stitches in the magic ring, and we did this to ensure that the rows with the increases, they work normally with the right side facing you. Otherwise, you'd have to make those increases while you're working your odd rows, and that got really hard. I had tried it, and it was a lot harder than doing it this way. The second thing to know is that if you want to figure out the number of stitches for each row, you'd have to add these 2 things. The first thing is that the number of stitches along the edge of the hexagon, you multiply that by 3. That's because you have 3 edges in the hexagon. And then you'd add 2 stitches to it. That's the first and last stitch on every row. Those are the edge stitches of each row. So number of stitches on each edge of the hexagon times 3, and then add 2 to that. So that's the number of stitches for each row in your half hexagon. The third thing that you need to remember is that odd numbered rows are crocheted in the opposite direction, and the wrong side of the project is facing you. So I strongly recommend having a print or an electronic copy of the chart where you can write down which direction you need to go in. You saw the presentation, and I had those arrows indicating which direction I had to go in, and I kept forgetting. I still ended up reading the chart as I normally would for all the rows sometimes, and I had to go back and redo some of my rows. So just make sure that you have a visual representation of which direction you need to crochet in. So for the most part, it will work out if you are working a chart that is symmetric, but if there is an asymmetric pattern, then it'll become then the pattern can get messed up, and your twisted simple stitches and simple stitches, they can get swapped, so your corners will not be as neat. So these are the 2 main things that will mess up if you if you do not crochet in the right direction. So have a visual representation that I think will help to remember which direction you need to read your chart in. The fourth thing that you need to remember is that while completing each row, you cast off all the loops from your hook. This is unlike what we do during the while making our full hexagon. While we're working in the round, we leave 2 or 3 loops on the hook, and then we go back to the forward pass. But in this case, because we are working row wise, we complete a row and then we move on to the next one. So that's why you cast off all the stitches that are on your hook before you start the next row. There's one thing that I did not really do in this video, is that while making my rows, I did not stop midway and cast off stitches before completing the row. So what can happen is that you may have too many stitches on your hook at some point. So this was a small practice swatch, but if you are working on your larger hexagons, if there are too many loops on your hook, you could choose to cast off after every edge or after every 10 or 15 or whatever number of stitches you want, and that's okay. So you'd cast off and then you'd come back, complete the forward pass, and continue as I showed you in this video. But I just wanted to say that it's okay to cast off in the middle of a row. You do not have to complete an entire row before the forward pass of an entire row before starting your return pass. The fifth thing that you need to know is that make sure you have your forward pass hook for the forward pass. So I know different people are crocheting differently. They're using different size hooks. Some people are using the same hook on both ends. I also know that at least one person is using a larger hook for their return pass. So if you have different hooks on both ends, then make sure that whenever you start your forward pass, you're using your forward pass hook. So that's really important. Otherwise, your stitches will be of different sizes in different rows. The sixth thing that you need to remember is that during odd numbers rows, keep your working yarn in front of the hook. I have made this mistake a lot of times. I leave the yarn at the back, which comes from its muscle memory, because that's how I've always done it. So I end up moving the yarn to the back. That will cause an extra loop on your hook, and that's something we don't want. So make sure that the yarn is in front of the hook when you're working your odd numbered rows. And the last thing that is a tip, which is to check your stitches after every odd row to ensure that they're correct. I say that because even while filming this video, even though I was taking extra care to make sure that I had the right stitches, I was doing the right thing, I was going in the right direction, reading the chart properly, I still made multiple mistakes, and I've edited those out, but I had to stop, undo parts of my rows or an entire row. At one point, I had to undo an entire row and then redo it, because I was checking after every odd row to make sure that the stitches are correct, and sometimes they were not. So just make sure to pause and check if your stitches are correct. You don't want to find out 5 or 6 rows down that you made a mistake, because it's just very easy to catch them early. You just have to pause and visually inspect your work. So that's pretty much it for making your half hexagons. And if you all have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or share in the Facebook group. I think that's the best place to go to for support, because as I said, this was something that I learned from the participants of the CAL, so they'll be able to help you, support you if I'm not around. But if you need help from me specifically, feel free to email me at arunima@knitonato.com and share your work with me, share your hexagons with me. I always look forward to seeing them. Thank you for joining me in this video. Bye-bye.